Well, my friends, we knew it was coming in late summer, but it's finally been announced. Skirmish Season 9 will run for 3 weeks starting August 24th. And I could not be more excited because Blitz is an incredibly important format to the wider Flesh and Blood community, and having it return as a front focus is really exciting. Additionally, we have the recent LL points changes in which 5 points, that's right, 5 points, 5 of them, are awarded per skirmish win. That means that Skirmish Season 9 will be very interesting as heroes now have only 100 wins to retirement. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my Flesh and Blood friends, and welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast, and thanks so much for tuning in here, talking Blitz. That's right, one of my favorite things in Flesh and Blood. As I've said many times before, I do think Classic Constructed is the better game, but in many aspects, Blitz is a better format, especially for what it does from approachability and all sorts of stuff, and the time it requires and all sorts of stuff like that. And then the fun and the craziness, right? You look at someone like Blaze, right? Blaze is our backdrop, the newest hero to join Blitz. Look at Crew, right? They did a bunch of cool stuff, and it lets LSS do cool stuff because they treat it as a more fluid format, and they have a more casual approach, key word there, they have a more casual approach to design for this particular format. But that does not mean that this format is any less valid. We've seen comments on there like, Blitz is no longer a competitive format. I disagree. It's a super competitive format in its own way and in its own right. And that's why I'm super excited that in August of this year, August 24th to be exact, Skirmish Season 9 is coming, and of that, Blitz is back, baby. Blitz is back. So, as I mentioned, 3 weeks of Blitz, well, I didn't mention that, but as I mentioned, Skirmish Season is back, and it will happen over 3 weeks, which is relevant, okay? So, let's just get that out of the way, right? With the new Monday afternoon check, Monday evening check, that they do in terms of living legend points, it's going to be very relevant that it's a 3-week season versus a 4-week season, right? Because you're distributing not only those points being distributed across fewer weekends, but you have less time to respond, and you're going to see, I think you're going to see a lot of heroes significantly overshoot. Okay, so the skirmish season itself, for prizing, you have 1 cold foil promo card for the winner for first place. You have 4 promo cards for the top 4. You then have 12 RFs and another 12 RFs to be given as participation prizes. Okay. And now the reason that this prizing is especially relevant here is, remember, we've been told that Blaze here is going to be available also as a prize during skirmish season. And that was used to essentially belay the concern that it was only a convention exclusive. That said, if you look at the prizing breakdown, one can tell that Blaze is likely only going to be, at the very least, a top 4, because that 12 and 12, right? First place gets 1 cold foil. Top 4 get a cold foil, presumably different because, right, why would you write it that way? And then you have 12 and 12. Well, that's top 24. So first off, even if for some reason those 12 and 12s are different treatments of Blaze, highly unlikely, but even if it were, those would only be available to 24, whereas most skirmishes are going to, most skirmishes can potentially go larger than that. But either way, that would cap at 24. But again, the fact that it's 12 and 12 and given as participation, likely randomly to participation, means that, like, and what I mean is like by a random draw, it means that it's likely not Blaze, right? So at best, we're looking at 4 cold foil Blazes per skirmish. Now, sure, several hundred across the globe, that's good news. But it's not just a participation prize, which means you're going to have to win to get a Blaze. And that's very relevant for the availability of her for week 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and again, remember, you have this all across the world, and you have all these local metas. It's going to be interesting. Plus, on top of that, it was November, December last time we had Skirmish. Well, there's been 2 sets that have dropped, and another hero. So we had 5 heroes out of heavy hitters. We had 3 heroes out of Part the Mist Fail, plus a bonus hero out of Part the Mist Fail, skirmish only, in Enigma New Moon. Then we had Blaze. So that is 10 brand new heroes that have joined us in the 8 months since. 10 brand new heroes who all have well, I'm not going to say they all have 0 because I don't know if I missed an event somewhere, but for the most part, they're all starting at 0. That's interesting, right? That's why we need this huge points injection. But again, you got to think about how it cuts off the head and then trickles down. Okay, it's the trickle down economics of living legend points, I suppose. All right, so let's go into that LL points rundown that I kind of brought up. Right, so what you see across the screen right now is my best graphic today at representing where things stand. I threw Blaze over there in the corner. I do acknowledge Enigma New Moon is also on there. I don't think she's as relevant as Blaze is, because Blaze is really good, bro. Like, really good, okay? So as I mentioned, there are 307, and this is as of today, by the way, right? So I will do, I'll do the points tracking thing that I normally do through Blitz season. But as of today, there are 307 events listed globally that will be running Blitz during Skirmish Season 9. Again, that does not include the LL ones, okay? So 307 translate to 1,535 points at 5 points apiece. That is enough alone to LL 3 heroes from 0, right? Which obviously we won't do, but that's a lot, okay? That's a lot. And remember, with this new LL points change at 5 points apiece, that is 100 wins to retirement. Only 100 wins to get out, okay? It's pretty relevant. What you see here is the current breakdown not only of heroes, but you can see that column that I've put on the right side where I'm also showing in one column the number of points they need to retirement. And then what I'm showing next to it is a cumulative number of points to essentially the top. Now you'll notice I'm only looking at the top 21 heroes in this case because there are a ton of legal heroes in Blitz. All right, to be honest, there's a ton of legal heroes in Blitz. And again, 10 of them are all sitting at the bottom. That doesn't mean they're bad heroes. They're just sitting at the bottom of the LL chart. Okay. And on top of that, we have Blaze, who, as I've very much implicated, is going to do very well. Okay. But we look at this. Briar, who I think is a very solid tier 1 hero, only needs 82 points. That is 9 wins. Okay. 9 wins. Briar's gone week 1. Dash also needs 9 wins. Will Dash go week 1? Maybe, maybe not. I could see not, but again, there's a lot of points on the table, right? I mean, even if I haven't done the week breakdown yet, but even if we equally distribute that there's 500 points, would she get that? 100. So there's basically 100 wins every weekend, roughly. Can she get 9% of the wins? She might be able to, honestly, right? Because again, this is global, right? You have different metas. Could happen. Below that, you have Dorinthea. I don't think Dorinthea is very likely. I don't think Bravo is very likely because Victor's really good. Really good. You see Victor after one season, or wait, no, sorry. Victor hasn't been on, I don't know what I was saying. Victor hasn't, I saw Vince said on there in the V. Victor hasn't been through a Blitz season, right? But Victor has very much secured himself as a tier 1 hero, in my opinion. Right, so that's the LL breakdown. And again, remember Blaze is sitting there, who's a very, very much tier 1 hero at 500. Right, so that's going to be the interesting thing about this, right? The top, so Briar is almost certainly gone week 1. There's very little doubt in my mind there. But can Victor get effectively 500 points? He doesn't need quite 500, but can he get 500? Can Blaze get 500 week 1? The answer is no, right? The answer is no. So you have some of the strongest heroes in the format who can't probably LL and would probably need all season to get there. It's going to be a very interesting and tumultuous Blitz season. And, leading into that, Blaze's impact, right? So, Blaze being a wizard in the format is a big deal. Now, there's a caveat here of we do have a BNS coming on, I think it's July 7th, I think. I keep getting the date wrong, but it's early July, like first week in July, we have a BNS coming. Does Wildfire get banned? Does Fork Lightning get banned? Fork Lightning very well could get banned. Maybe just because they're tired of dealing with the rules on that. They've recently clarified that, but there still seems to be a lot of ambiguity around it. Like Blaze only requires 2 Arcane for him, but the ruling is the ruling on Fork Lightning does it target the card or does it target the effect? And if it targets the card, then it counts for the whole card. So I don't understand why Blaze doesn't count for the whole card, but whatever. I'm not a Rules 19 Paladin rules lawyer, so fair enough. At this point, the ruling is that Fork Lightning counts too. There's a lot of interesting things into there, and rant aside, Blaze is very, very, very strong. Okay, and that kind of takes me into the next part, which is pace of Blitz. Now, this has long been one of the easy complaints about why people don't like Blitz. And I acknowledge that it's true, or I acknowledge that it used to be true, right? You still have people like Rhinar who can just pop off and there's nothing you can do. And I think you just kind of accept it and move on with your life. Others can't because, you know, skill-based game, I'm the best out there. No one can beat me unless something's broken, right? So fair enough. But I think that since Skirmish 8 and Kano, to be honest, Kano leaving, the pace of Blitz really slowed down, right? A lot of games going 4 to 6 turns, which is pretty decent in Blitz format. That was very, very, very consistent. But now that Blaze is back, we're talking 0 to 1 turns again, right? So you have this really interesting thing in Blitz where a lot of the folks were like, well, I don't like Blitz because it takes I don't like Blitz because it's too fast. And they're also like, I don't like Blitz because there's not a wizard in it. And then all of a sudden, but the two are like, so Blaze is going to be very interesting to see how she lands. I think she's super strong. And that takes us in. So, you know, the pace discussion is unfortunate, right? Because I think it's not unfortunate that Blaze exists because I want those people to have a home, right? From the bottom of my heart, right? I think Blaze is a really cool hero. But we had this opportunity to show that Blitz wasn't like a 1 to 2 round format. Like, you know, once Rhinar would get out, probably week 2, once Rhinar would go away, the pace was really going to slow down a lot. But then we brought Wizard back and it kind of just changed that. So I think a lot of people are still going to be like, yeah, see, Blitz still sucks. But that's a them problem because the rest of us are going to have a lot of fun, right? So now moving into tier discussion, Blaze again is very relevant because if you looked at what I considered the tier 0, tier 1, whatever you want to call it heroes, right? The top tier heroes, there was 4 of them. There was Emperor, there was Victor, there was Briar, who I believe is the standout. And then you had, who am I missing? Victor, Briar, Emperor, and Rhinar, the big green boy. There we go. So those were the top 4. And then you had a pretty good smattering of tier 1 heroes. You know, Dorinthea Quicksilver Prodigy is in there. Datadol is in there. Vincent is in there. You had Teklavostin was in there. All sorts of stuff like that, right? It's very, you know, more matchup based dependent, but really good into the field, but would die to certain things. Really good tier 1. But now that Blaze has come in, I believe Blaze is solidly a tier 1 hero. Sorry, Emperor, you get knocked down, right? I think Emperor moves to tier 1.5 because, again, he has a really good matchup in a lot of the field. But how's a guy who only has reds in his deck supposed to live, right? How's a Teklavostin probably takes another hit, right? Even more of a hit because I don't know how Teklavostin or even Enigma New Moon, right? Enigma New Moon's really good and really cool and really creative. I actually really like that hero. But when all of your equipment's cloaked, like, what are you supposed to do, bro? So it's tough, right? It's going to be a tough one, and you just got to hope. He's got to hope that your folks haven't paid the $150 or whatever it is to buy a Blaze, at least by that point. Okay, and then so then you go into the tier 1.5 again. Your Dorinthea Quicksilver Prodigies are really solid because they can run AB3. There's been a whole meta shift trying to run AB3 into Blaze. Really changes a lot of things. Which also, by the way, like the people have used sideboard slots to flip into AB3. Well, remember, you've got Prism, you've got Advent of Thrones, less poppers out there. Well, that's very interesting. So a lot of heroes have really cruddy matchups into Luminaris. Very, very, very interesting. Okay. And to that point, we have some really fun picks. I've already kind of heralded New Moon and how much I love her. Enigma New Moon is really cool. Like, really cool. And in fact, I'll tell you what, I will commit to doing a whole separate. So I do have a deck tech for Enigma New Moon coming up. But I'll do a whole separate cast on Enigma and why she's cool. Because there's actually 3 ways I've seen that folks are playing her. There's an innovative... so when you're running Cosmo, it has a static ability that your spectral or that your wards are considered to be weapons. Which means that what you can do is you can poop out a bunch of spectrals and then cash out. And then what you do is you do a big pitch thing into... was it 10,000 years? Oh, shoot. I'll put it up. My apologies. The card is escaping me right now. But the point is you do like a whole bunch of pitches and then it comes in for a whole bunch of ward in like a single swing. So you have that. There's also a version of her that plays Iris or Reality and is just kind of a grindy, like really good value deck, right? So it's got the wards out there to take the hits. They also can come in for 4 for no permanent cost. And then kind of its end game is to build up to Cosmic Awakening, right? And just come in for 20 with a bunch of chi. That's really cool. And then you also have kind of a pew pew type deck with her Sacred Art, where you poop out 7, I think, yeah, it's 7 spectrals, and then you can just come in pew 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 because you've got the chi in your hand too to pay for it off of the Sacred Art. So a lot of really cool things there. She's super fun. You have Data Doll making a run. Data Doll people really better enjoy it because if Dash goes, you lose the pistol, and then I think you're up a creek. But that's really cool options. Teklo, again, like the Teklo folks, you know, I think is rough time in CC. I think you can do okay in Blitz, right? If obviously until he runs up against this lady right here. So probably play him the first weeks because as the skirmish prizes start to come in your area, right? It's going to be relevant. Anyway, tons of fun things to play during Blitz. And again, play whatever you want. Because not every hero is fine, but Blitz is very matchup based. So you can just make a good run and you have a good time of it. And either way, it's going to be short and you have fun with your buddies. Okay. So to that point, the first list already dropped earlier this week. The Dorinthea Quicksilver Prodigy, Quickie P dropped earlier this week, but every single Tuesday this week, all the way the run up through skirmish season, I'm going to be dropping a new list. The first 3 are up now, and they'll come out first 3 are up now for members. They'll come out every week. But I am taking a pause for a couple of the decks because again, we have that early July BNS. You know, Blaze, I already talked about potential things. Blaze, Wildfire, Storm Striders, maybe Fork Lightning, anything could change there. Savage Sash almost certainly has to go for Kayo. He's not necessarily a tier 1 hero, but like that card's pretty crazy in Blitz. Probably that one goes. So, but we'll see. We'll see what they want to do with Blitz. So I'm kind of pumping the brakes on those. But again, they'll come out every Tuesday. And kind of my parting words. Remember, folks, Blitz is fun. Blitz is good, right? Just because it's not CC doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? Blitz is a lot of fun to go and hang out with your buddies. Do your thing, have short games, try new heroes, new fun heroes, crazy heroes that maybe do stupid things that shouldn't be allowed, but it's okay because it's only a stupid thing that shouldn't be allowed for 3 minutes. It's a good time. We're going to have a great time all this summer running down to skirmish season and then through skirmish season. And then come September, we're going to have a new set. It's going to be an awesome freaking summer. With that, go Commando.